In this lesson, let's talk a little bit more about the hotbox. So we talked about the hotbox briefly before in that it's just a floating interface that allows us to access tools and functions here in Maya very quickly. You can see that as I hit the spacebar, the hotbox comes up wherever my cursor happens to be, allowing me to select anything very quickly without having to move my cursor all across the screen. So again, we activate that using the spacebar, and you probably recognize some of these menus up here. These are going to relate to the menu sets here. So we also have these sort of zones. So you can see these kind of lines separating this into kind of a zone over here, up here, and down here, and in the center. Let's go ahead and turn off all this. So I'm going to go to hotbox controls, still holding down on spacebar, and let's go to hide all. So now if I bring this up, you can see we've got Maya here. If I click on that, I can select different views. So go to different camera views. If I click on recent commands, I can select something that I've done recently, kind of a history of commands. If I go to the hotbox controls, I can go in and choose what parts of the hotbox to show. I can also come into these zones and click. So over here, I can, let's say, turn off the toolbox, turn it back on. Do the same thing with the, let's say, the time slider. So I can turn different parts of my interface on and off. Coming down to the bottom zone, I can activate, turn that into an outliner, let's say. Or I can go back to make that a hypergraph. Okay? I can come in here and change it back to its perspective up at the top. So I can choose different layouts. Maybe I want a hypershade and a perspective, or single perspective. So really quickly switch between different layouts and opening up different panels, turning parts of the interface on and off. Over here on the side, we can go to object masking, things like that. It's our select by hierarchy. So the zones themselves contain different functionality based on which one you click on. Now let's start to turn things on. So we're going to hotbox controls, and let's say we'll show polygons. So now we've got our polygons menu up. So if we only want to be able to access that menu, we can just select that, and then we can come in here, and it's just like selecting from the menu. Let's go ahead and turn on, we'll show all. And what this will do is allow us to access all of our menu sets just by clicking in here, and I can access anything from that menu or from the fluid effects, from stereo, without having to change our menu set, and without having to go up to the top to modify or to rather select any of those options up there. Now, even though this hotbox is very useful, and I encourage you to try it at least, see if it kind of speeds up your workflow, you'll notice as you go through courses here at Digital Tutors, we don't really use the hotbox that much. And that's just because, even though this speeds things up, it's really important for us to be able to show what it is that we're selecting. And so, it's real easy to come in here and select something really quickly, or to kind of come in here and select something really fast. And so we might on occasion use that, but a lot of times we'll actually stick to the menu, even though that's probably not, once you get into doing your own work kind of on your own, it's probably not going to be the fastest way of working, but it is kind of the clearest way to show what it is that we're actually picking and selecting, so it's very clear on what it is that we're doing. So that's kind of the reason why we typically won't use it too much in our courses, but maybe in our work, if we're just doing R&D, or if you're going through your process, it may be something you want to take advantage of. All right, so that is the hotbox. The next thing we'll talk about is we're going to just touch really briefly on Mel scripting. So Maya is built on this Maya embedded language, this Mel scripting, which every tool that we run and function that we run is going to be reflected in some sort of a Mel script. And we can actually start to write some rudimentary scripts here in the next lesson. You can get really complex with that and make your own sort of custom tools and things like that. And Delano, if you go through some of the rigging training, once you get through with this, he actually, in many of his courses, will go through and create things like that. So, but we're going to be really basic and just touch on it, get you kind of used to that. We'll also look at creating shelves and adding tools that we commonly use, that are commonly used into a custom shelf. And then we'll also add scripts that we create to that shelf. So let's go ahead and touch on Mel scripting in the next lesson.